Hello, everybody, and welcome to our show, We'll Throw the After Party. And what an after party we have to throw this week with all of you. Hey, besties. Welcome back.
Hi.
Hey.
It is quite the week, a very chaotic week in show planning. I am not in my usual setup. I do not have my usual mic. I feel like it's ASMR Liz this week because I'm like whispering into my microphone. But that's okay. Y'all will have to tell me if I'm being too loud or too quiet. I'm going to be chaotic, but like a quieter version of myself this week. If you don't know me, I'm producer Liz. I hang out everywhere on the internet at producer Liz. And I talk all about PR and pop culture. And specifically this week, it's all about Harry Cella. I've been up since 4 a.m. No sleep. I am still on a high from Shania Twain coming on stage with Harry Styles last night. And we're going to talk about it a lot this evening. And that's a little bit about me. Marissa, what's going on with you?
Oh, what is going on with me? You can't tell because of my green screen, but I'm finally back in my apartment after 6 weeks at home with my parents with a broken leg. I think it's still technically broken, but I can walk now, so I'm free.
Listen, we started a new show, and you literally broke your leg for us. So now we have good luck forever, do we not?
Yeah. Like, I took the theater adage like a step further. It was like, break a leg, but actually maybe you should. But I didn't even tell you who I am. I'm Marissa at Bissa all over the internet. And I'm going to talk a lot about these people tonight.
Do you want to add any context for people who might not know who's in your background?
No.
Great.
If you know, you know. And if you don't know, I'm going to make you know.
Marissa said, girl boss keep.
The girls that get it.
The girls that don't.
So on that note, Alexis, are you a girl who gets it or a girl who does not? Because I'm certainly one of the girls that does not get it. So hopefully Marissa explains it to me this evening.
That's Taika Waititi. Everybody can tell that that's Taika Waititi at least. That's all you need to know at this point.
I could not tell you that. I'm sorry. I hate to break it to you.
Okay, I'm sorry. All you need to know at this point is that's Taika Waititi.
Okay.
Alexis, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm Alexis at Alexis Blake Reads Comics, and I'm here. My cat is actually, I don't know what he's doing. He's making some bold choices tonight. So he has never sat up on the shelf and just chilled out. So he may join our live in a little bit. I don't know what's happening. He's looking at me very suspiciously.
He's threatened by the new logo, which is Alpine, the cat, obviously, from the comics. So perhaps we need to have a battle to the logo death redesign.
It's a little strange. I think it's actually because I have cheese in the drawer and they think they're going to get more treats, but it could also be an Alpine battle.
So how would you feel about a battle to the logo death?
That'd be very sad because we have a very great logo that was designed by a friend of the show, Bucky. We love. I don't want our logo to die. I don't want your cat to die. It's a lose-lose, okay?
I have a really great cat.
It's a lose-lose. Anyways, hi, I'm Sly. I'm a deaf queer person on the internet, and we're here, we're queer, and we're throwing the after party. Let's get into it.
I want confetti for that.
Yeah, we need a confetti thing built into the show. I love it.
Money guns.
Very much. I just want to say hey to everyone hanging out with us on TikTok. We're doing our weekly live show. You can come hang out with us on YouTube or Twitch by clicking on the link in my bio. And also, the TikTok audience gets an exclusive on my new pants, which I'm very proud of. So if you're watching on TikTok, please enjoy. But now everyone's seeing them on YouTube and Twitch too. But please, everyone, admire my new pants. I don't order clothes online often, so when I do, I make a big deal out of it.
If I had taken a sip every time Liz mentioned her pants tonight, I would already be under the table.
It is not on the bingo card, but speaking of the bingo cards, for those of you that joined us at our first show, the ending of Stark Radio, the beginning of We'll Throw the After Party, you may have received a bingo card to play along with as you watch our show every week. Now, the party is really about to get started because if you get a full card or if you get a bingo, you need to post it on your Instagram story and tag our show account at After Party Show SHO. There's no W because the handle was taken. And we're going to start a little, like, I don't know, reward system that goes back to one of everyone's favorite moments of the show every week. So make sure you're playing along with your bingo card, post it on your Instagram and tag us, and we will be in touch with the winners about what reward is coming your way. We're very excited about it. It's going to add a little sprinkle of chaos to the show every week. Do we want to reveal anything else or just leave it at that? Shall we leave it at that?
Let's leave it at that.
Leave it at that. If you have not received a bingo card, you can DM us on Instagram and we'll hook you up. However, I want to know a little bit about what everyone's been watching this week, because I feel like we might be able to scratch off some bingo card squares with this first segment of the show before we get into Moon Knight and episode 3 and just the variety of feelings we have around the show. I think we all dove in pretty deep into some movies and shows this week. So Alexis, why don't we start with you? What have you been watching? What do you want to talk about?
Because I hate starting.
Your name is first in the doc, okay?
I know. I thought it was a mistake. Otherwise, I would have moved it. I've been consuming a lot of media this week. I watched a lot of 911 and I read a lot of 911 fanfic. And I rewatched some of the Lizzie Bennet diaries. I listened to a bunch of like documentary reviews and watched a bunch of documentaries. Today I watched the Bob Ross Sex and Lives doc, which was very fascinating. And shockingly this week, my mom started 911 and she did it with a lot of Liz energy. So she calls me and she's like, I started that show, your friend's show. And I'm like, okay, like, do I have a friend on a show? Like, do I have, whatever. Like, no, your friend Sly, their show. And I just started it at where it was at on television. And I'm like, well, what episode was it? And so I eventually pieced together, it was like 15 minutes in to like the Eddie Well episode moment. But
Eddie Begins, which is 3:15. Yeah.
She just described it to me as like Jennifer Love Hewitt's brother would have also cut his line and there was mud and like, oh, okay.
Okay,
so, yeah.
Can I just say, Alexis's Bridgerton texts make so much more sense if that's how your mom talks about TV.
I think I messaged somebody. It was probably Sly. But I was like, so apparently, like, I come by that honestly because like,
oh yeah,
Jennifer Love Hewitt's brother did the thing, and I'm like, okay. Good.
I feel like we need Alexis's mom to make a cameo on a future episode or like provide like a little video insight.
She has panic attacks over having to sing happy birthday to people.
Okay.
But
we can get like a voice changer, like those like ones that Twitch streamers.
We have to get Alexis's mom and Bunky's mom together.
Yeah.
The moms will throw the after party. Yes.
Amazing reactions.
Speaking of Marissa, the mom of the friend group, so I would W. What have you been watching this week?
If you can tell from the background behind me, I've been watching a lot of Our Flag Means Death.
Shocking
I talked about
no
it.
one who follows you on Twitter. Let's just say, if you follow us on Twitter, you know this was coming. If you don't,
I've lost my mind. I'll get into it further in a second, but yes, I talked about Our Flag Means Death last week. I had like just finished it before last week's show. And then I thought I put it to bed and I was like, I watched it. I liked it. I'm moving on. And like, I moved on. I rewatched What We Do in the Shadows because it has a very similar vibe to Our Flag Means Death. And then I was like a few episodes into, like, I was like halfway through What We Do in the Shadows essentially. And I was like, I really just want to watch Our Flag Means Death. And so I rewatched it. And also I wanted to talk about Abbott Elementary really quickly because the finale of Abbott Elementary was this last week and I cried. I don't know the last time I cried. Was that a cat?
Everything's fine.
Okay.
The background,
Anyway.
the green screen background made that so much better.
Seriously, I don't know what just happened.
They have an automated feeder and it went off and we had to run full force to get to it.
Oh.
And so there was chaos. Sorry.
Okay. All right. The cats are fine, everyone.
They're fine.
Yeah, so anyway, the Abbott Elementary season 1 finale made me cry. And I don't know the last time I cried at like a cable sitcom.
100% on Rotten Tomatoes, like certified. That's not an exaggeration. If you're
Certified
not watching,
fresh.
you should be.
And I think it
Absolutely.
just got renewed, right? Because I had seen some pieces
Mhm.
that there was some worry that it wouldn't get renewed. And
We're going to talk about that later in the show too.
okay, sorry.
Yeah,
Obsessed.
I would say that what I've been watching is a preface for what I'm going to talk about for the rest of the show.
Okay.
Sly, I think it's your turn.
It's your turn.
Yeah. So I had last week a video game that I've been waiting like years for came out, and it was very exciting and it was very good. I started playing it. I got to the point where I had to make a choice, and I was like, I'll take a little break, and it was fine. I was like, okay, I'll get back into it. Spoiler alert, I did not get back into it because a friend of the show, JJ, sent me a Teen Wolf fanfic that's a nearly 600,000 words long. It's so long, and this had taken over my entire week. So
That's longer
It's a
than all the young
series.
dudes.
it's a series. It's 5 fics in a series, but it tells it like a cohesive story. Anyways, it's this very long fic. I spent my entire week reading it, and then I was like, I guess I have to watch Teen Wolf now.
Uh-huh.
So then I started watching Teen Wolf.
But I
And-
didn't get that context. What I got was all these people are supposed to be high schoolers and they look like grown men. And I was like, what people? Who are you talking about?
Okay. Let me clarify because that's not what I said. I said I know these are all adults playing
That's what it was.
teenagers,
Yes.
but now looking at them, they all look like babies.
That's what it was. Yeah. Highly confused.
Teen Wolf, not good. Am I gonna watch all of it anyways? Oh yeah.
You need to finish it and then give us your thoughts on this whole movie drama that's going down with the Teen Wolf movie and Dylan O'Brien not doing it.
I'm currently at like I think episode 3 or 4 of season 3. It's a lot. Let me just say, it's something. I think this is the season where it like kind of starts to get less terrible. But yeah, the first 2 seasons were rough.
Well, keep us updated. I'm so excited that we have a new show with big fandom for us to discuss, as if we needed more to add to the show.
Another
Truly
show
brilliant.
I have not seen and don't plan to ever see.
Don't watch it.
Don't
Just
plan
save
on it.
yourself.
Well, keep us updated. Keep us updated because maybe you can convince some of us to jump headfirst back into Teen Wolf territory. I'm not going to say who, but perhaps some of us might be able to be convinced after I finish my Dune list that I need to get through to convince everyone to watch Dune, which I did not make.
I'll send you the fic. You can go through the fic because
Thank
it's
you.
a good one.
I'm all over the place this week. I just moved all of my things in the show doc because y'all, we have so much to discuss. First and foremost, everyone appreciate that Shania Twain and Harry Styles were on stage together. Thank you so much. It has
Why I'm currently drinking coffee at 7:30.
So I would like to say that I was ready to roast Marissa, but instead I'm so proud of Marissa because last night, actually, this all
I was getting
started
ready to roast Marissa as well.
for about Harry Styles or another reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
What? Because I flip flopped, or because of my
Yeah,
initial...
Marissa's like, everyone needs to have a midnight bedtime.
Yeah, Marissa was like, everyone needs to go to bed at a reasonable hour. And then Marissa followed up by saying, actually, I did watch Harry set at Coachella. And I was like, see, it's irresistible. But you know what? I'm not going to shame you for that. I think that's a very valid approach to being a Harry Styles fan. I have my Harry sweater with me, but it keeps fading into the background as
Oh,
in,
no.
see, when it just disappears. So we're just going to acknowledge that it's here. I truly am beginning my insufferable Harry Styles fan era. I thought I had a little bit more buffer room. I thought maybe May 1st would hit and then it would begin, but no, we're in full-blown insufferable Harry Styles fan territory as of now, like all gas, no brakes.
I feel like there's an again at the end of that sentence. Like, is this the first time you've been an insufferable Harry Styles fan?
It's just kind of like, it's like holding a lid on a box.
I didn't
and
know.
Sometimes I do a really
never
good job.
stopped.
It's been, what year is it? 2022? It's been 12 years of this. It's end
Jesus
of 2010
Christ.
when I found them when they were still on
Yes,
X
That's
Factor.
true.
I found them when they were still on X Factor.
Oh no! Please don't.
Before What Makes You Beautiful came out.
You can't.
And
be
I have
this
been
person.
here ever since. I am that person, but I don't gatekeep. Did I watch the Coachella set in my One Direction blanket from Claire's that I purchased in 2012? Yes, I did. And am I proud of that fact? Absolutely. I sure
The
am.
blanket has made an appearance on this show. See if
It
you
ha-
can find
no,
the
it- it made-
episode.
It made an appearance on Danielle Silverstone's Stream Lounge High School Musical Party.
Oh, that's what it was.
I go deep into the vaults for that one.
Yeah.
I'm truly living my best Harry Styles life. I think I have so much to say about the new songs. I have so much to say about where this is all going. So you can stay tuned to my TikTok next week. Harry with Shania has convinced me to listen to Harry Styles. Listen, bestie, if you're new to the Harry Styles fan, now we do not gatekeep our favorite musicians here. You can come to my TikTok. I'm going to be posting the video soon for our countdown to Harry's house party, which we'll be hosting. So then leading up to midnight, same thing we did for Red Taylor's version, we'll be streaming and talking about Harry and talking about the community and the context that you might need to enjoy the album in full. So I am here. The Harry Styles Education Center is open. Everyone's going to be ready heading into this album. It is going to be incredible. I think it's going to be his best album yet. I do want to follow up on one thing that I've said on the show, which is I made this bold prediction that this was going to be the time where Harry was going to finally assert and draw some clear boundaries with his music and get a little bit more political and get a little bit more personal than he's ever been. And I talked on, I think it was the episode where Alexis wasn't here, so maybe our first episode is We'll Throw the After Party. I kind of shared how I think that's so important because like the Harry Styles community like infers so much about who he is in his life and takes the influences of his songs in so many different directions. So I think it's actually a little bit unhealthy as a fan community and unhealthy in the narrative surrounding him. So I was hoping we'd get some clarity with this era so that we could kind of find some common ground in the way we talk about his music and discuss him as a community. And Coachella has convinced me that he has in fact done that. This new era, these new songs are going to be clearer than ever. And I'm just so happy for him that we're at this point in time where he can be visible and be himself and talk about things that he's never been able to talk about in his music, but always alluded to. And I hope there is much more to come. And I just wanted to follow up with that because I know we had a huge discussion about what it means to be visible in media and what that means to people and their boundaries that they're allowed to draw for themselves. And I feel like last night was a really huge step in the right direction, not just for him, but for everyone that follows him. So great night to be a Harry fan.
Yeah.
I just want to comment back on our friend, Andrea, who's watching on TikTok. I remember when I asked random Harry questions and you answered all of them. Yes, literally. Like, I am the Harry Styles Education Center. We are here. We are ready for Harry's house. We're going to enjoy this era together, friends. So I'll pause there and I'm going to leave this photo up literally the whole show so you can admire it with me. I'm absolutely looking at this and not anyone else on the screen with me, but that's fine. I'm kidding. I'm half kidding. Where do we go from here, friends? Do we have some rants for the week?
Oh,
I'm not going first, though.
No. You do not have to go first. We got you covered. If you don't know this segment of the show, every week we come ready with a little spicy hot take to share with all of you about some of the pop culture we've been watching, some of the things happening in the media that we love, and we have 2 minutes each to share with you our thoughts, but we kind of rotate around, so it gets a little bit chaotic. We usually cut each other off a little bit, and no one.
Sometimes we take each other's time.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we just skip a person and start talking when it's not our turn.
Never gonna get over that one.
I I'm not actually mad, but it
I'm
was so
uncomfortable
funny.
with the energy we've created in the studio.
It was perfect. I was talking about how nobody respected my love of Wanda, and Sly fully did not respect my love of Wanda.
The way I have rewatched that part of the episode 15 times, though, like
last
15
week, go watch our rants from last week.
We are our
please.
own biggest fans here at this show. I'm obsessed. Let's preface a little bit so everyone knows what stories to follow this evening. I'm very nervous because I'm going to give a rant titled "I had a horrible, shocking realization about Dune this week." And if anyone can predict what I'm about to say, like put it in the chat now, because I would be absolutely mind blown if anyone was able to guess what this rant is about, because it is so off the wall for me. And that's really saying something. Marissa?
I'm ranting about the men behind me and our flag means death. Absolutely.
I'm ranting about the characterization of Teen Wolf in canon versus fanon because they are very different.
I had like 3 rants that I couldn't choose from, but I'm going to go with the Kelly Thompson comic. Black Widow.
Okay. Let's see it through, friends. If you're watching on TikTok, now's the time to come join us on YouTube and Twitch so you can see the timer and see all the chaos unfold. Otherwise, enjoy watching us get through our favorite section of the show. All right. I really don't know where this conversation is going to take me, so I'm just going to hit the buzzer. Oh, no. Hold on. Sorry. That's not what we wanted. One moment, please.
15 minutes?
Well, 15 minutes for me to talk about Dune. That sounds too short, honestly. Here we go. I got it. 1 second. Okay. We've done it. We've done it, besties. Are y'all ready? So as per usual, I spent like 90% of my brain capacity this week thinking about Dune, which I think is a very inspired film that no one appreciates as much as I do. However, I had a very startling, jarring realization. Who here knows, this is a interaction with the crowd piece, you 3. Who here knows what one of the number 1 fandoms on AO3 is? Minecraft YouTube was number 1 for like the majority of 2021. So obviously I started watching.
Our Flag Means Death has taken over my brain. I thought I was going to be a casual fan. I thought I was going to watch this show, think, oh, that was really cute. I enjoyed it. Hope there's a season 2. Let's move on. No, it's taken up every inch of my brain space for the last week. I have gay pirate brain rot at this point. It is my entire Twitter feed. It's the fan fiction I'm reading. I'm
going to take
a
quick tangent from my actual rant because Liz just reminded me of a horrifying experience I had where I was watching a TikTok talking about cursed fan fiction, and one of them happened to be like Minecraft YouTube RPF fic, and I saw one of my friends that I've known for a couple of years had fanfic, and it was very cursed, and I am so scarred by this experience that I know somebody that has cursed fanfic about
it. It is also my greatest fear. All right, so Kelly Thompson has been writing a Black Widow comic. This has been going on for a while, and the theme of said Black Widow comic seemed to be like family fun times, which is really a lot to unpack because we've never really had a moment in the comics by Kelly Thompson or otherwise where Natasha has talked about any sort of want or need to be married and have children. It just always seems to be assumed.
So obviously I decided to dive down the Minecraft YouTube rabbit hole because I need to figure out what this was all about as someone that's very invested in internet culture and communities. And I must say, there's some great Minecraft content out there. Like I kind of understand what's happening. However, I was watching Minecraft YouTube this week and had the very startling realization that Minecraft YouTube is Dune on a Patreon budget, and I can't watch Dune the same way now, and it's ruined it for me, and I need to get back to where I was a few weeks ago.
Okay, wow. I don't know where I'm going with this now. Oh, I do. Okay. So all I want to talk about is Our Flag Means Death. All I want to think about is Our Flag Means Death. All I want to watch is Our Flag Means Death. However, this little clock app does not want me to talk about Our Flag Means Death. Every video I make trying to talk about Our Flag Means Death just bombs, and I am not okay with it. It feels targeted and it feels violent to me.
All right, so Teen Wolf. For a little bit of context, I watched the first 3 seasons of Teen Wolf in high school. I like binged through them. I remember nothing except for like vague like who people are and like what creatures they are, whatever. So I started reading fanfic, right? And then I was like, I feel like I have a really good idea of like who these characters are because I've read a couple different fanfics. There's a lot of things that are pretty common, right? And then I started watching the show, and the characterization of the show is completely different.
So there's this family theme seems to be happening 3 ways, right? We start with Natasha, spoilers, being mind warped so that she's under the impression that she has a family. She's actually living with a man and her child that was biologically engineered and a cat that's not her real cat. And so she believes that she has this family. And then she moves on from that family to being like the mama bunny of a bunch of other like superhero.
Minecraft is space/utopian/dystopian geopolitical drama, which is exactly what DUNE is. And there's always an element of, there's some kind of element in the world they live in that's like a resource that they need, whether it's something literal like food or like a special power that someone's put in, which is the same as spice. And there's always people that are divided into different like places or different teams, different armies, and they're always fighting each other, which is DUNE. So if you like Minecraft YouTube, you should watch DUNE. But if you don't like Minecraft YouTube, you should still watch DUNE.
Liz, I'm so concerned for you. Anyway, our Flag Means Death took me by surprise. Okay, let's say that. Because the only reason I even knew the show existed was because I followed Taika Waititi on Instagram and he had posted about it a little bit. This show had like almost no promotional budget, market, time, whatever. And it was being marketed as pirates. It was not being marketed as a rom-com. And people like it because it's a rom-com, not because there are pirates. And I think if they had...
So when you're looking at Teen Wolf, the show, and the characterization, it's very, early 2010s dramatic teenage bullshit, right? And that persists throughout fanon and fandom characterizations. But I think the most interesting thing is how they take these characters who are like kind of pieces of shit in the show and turn them into like the most beloved characters in fandom.
So believed family, parenting other young superheroes. And now this is supposed to come all together that culminated in a scene where Natasha is sitting at the table with her family. And her family is all of these people that she's mentoring, but it also includes Clint and Bucky. And my controversial opinion would be that this entire Kelly Thompson run on Black Widow would have been 1,000% better if Clint and Bucky had not been involved since the beginning.
What does it say about mass movie production with million upon millions of dollar budgets that give me the same thrill as someone who runs a Discord and a Patreon spending a week simulating war and then posting it on YouTube? I'm worried for the movie industry. I'm worried for movie fans. I think YouTube is the future. It already is the future. And Minecraft YouTube is actually an interesting case study in how that style of content is going to dominate media in the next decade.
I'm worried about Liz.
Much to think about.
So bottom line is I don't know what the point of this is other than I can't stop thinking about Our Flag Means Death. And I think that they did themselves a disservice by marketing it as like fun pirate show other than queer romance. It's a queer romance and it has excellent queer rep. And it should have been marketed as that. It should not have been marketed as pirate laugh stab.
I think this brings up a very interesting conversation when we're looking at how media is perceived and how fandom is generated. And oftentimes we see fandom take off in shows with potential, but not a lot of follow through on their promises. And I think the best example of this is when you look at the promises made of characters in Teen Wolf and how it's not paid off and how it's fixed in fanfic.
If Clint and Bucky weren't in it, we wouldn't have had the whole arc of Natasha needing to be rescued from from the family that she believed that she had. And we also would not have had Clint at every opportunity possible in the latest issue referring to Natasha as baby. And listen, I am someone that likes endearments. Nadia and I think both almost threw up on the page. Like, why is it happening? Why is it there? Why is it this whole like, oh, this is your family, baby. Like, it's going to be okay. Like, can we just...
Great, solid
Ew.
ending to that. I respect it.
It was very ew.
Ew.
So we're coming from a lot of different places this week is what I'm picking up from that rant segment. It was a very disconnected week in the group chat, I think, in some ways. No one knew I was going to talk about Minecraft YouTube in today's episode, so that's new for us.
No, I thought
Liz,
there was going to
if
be
you
like
come across cursed fanfic from people I know about, do not tell me. I don't want to know about it. Okay, I'm
not
already
reading
scarred.
Minecraft YouTube fanfiction. Like, do I have to clear the air on that? Like, no. I saw that it was popular. I wanted to understand why it was popular because it's my job to understand internet communities and fan communities and how they function. So I went in search of an answer and instead found DUNE on a Patreon budget. And
One of
have
my
much to
favorite
think
things about AO3 is that there are these like essays for no reason. Like some of them have a reason, but a lot of them are like just people like writing essays about like how fandom works. And I think the rant that you just gave needs to be an essay that's posted on AO3.
Done. Someone like transcribe everything I just said, maybe add some punctuation in capital letters. We've got it. We're good.
Make sure to capitalize Sly's name if that comes up in the document.
Oh yeah, because I formally apologize to everyone watching on YouTube because Sly's name is not currently capitalized in the description.
It was on TikTok. I'm not sure about YouTube.
I'm sorry. On TikTok. I think you're capitalized. Anyway.
No.
Anywho. If you're watching us on TikTok, come hang out on YouTube and Twitch. You can hang out with everyone in the chat. Hello, everybody in the chat. And you can see the graphics on screen, which will be important because, spoiler warning, we're about to talk about Moon Knight. Also, I can lean very close to my webcam this week, which I usually can't. So I'm really enjoying the dramatics of getting this close and then getting like very far away. We're going to talk Moon Knight episode 3, which means I got to get my iPad out because I wrote my notes this week. Check out the stickers on my iPad cover. We've got some Harry. We've got some Makari. Hey, why are you shaking your head, Sly? I have Makari on here for you. Thank you. Worse still. Everyone get your notes out. We're talking about Moon Knight episode 3. Let's start with our favorite what the F moment of the week, because what a freaking episode this was. How are we feeling? What stuck out to us? Alexis, you're not going to start because you will literally refrigerate me after the show if I make you start this segment.
And leave this live.
So how about Sly? What stuck out to you this week?
Well, what stuck out to me is Alexis and I's inability to keep a straight face during serious scenes, because so many times we would crack up laughing at everything that was happening in very dramatic scenes, and it was the time.
Some of us may have watched this episode together. I feel like we should have prefaced that.
Let's all revisit my rant from last week about
some of us have had some very private conversations.
Some of us may have been on the phone for the past 4 hours.
Seriously, I entered the stream, Liz, and Alexis wasn't here, but I could hear her voice from Sly's feed because they were on the phone while Sly was in the stream already.
So Marissa and I are going to do this segment of the show now without them. If they want to disclude us, we will disclude them.
Listen,
I'm kidding.
You all had already watched it. You had your notes in the doc already.
We don't gatekeep here unless it's from each other, apparently. I thought that was a rule of the show.
Liz and I had like 3 different like individual conversations inside the group chat. Like we were the only 2 people in the conversation, but Alexis and Sly were getting every notification.
Notifications in our personal chats, and you 2 don't.
We wanted to put you in the loop.
Listen, we're not going to get into the politics
in the loop on Little Women.
Oh my god, I didn't even tell y'all about Little Women. We'll get there.
See, that's what I thought your rant was going to be, was some
and then I had to talk about this Minecraft YouTube thing. Listen, we will get back to Little Women because that's going to be my thing for the end of the episode now, I think. Okay, Sly, I want to read exactly what your note says for the WTF moment of the week. I think that in general, we could say that the fight sequences
They happened.
They happened.
It happened.
They
There were
sure
some highs
did.
and some lows.
There are some notes that I can't read out loud this week. I will say I, on numerous occasions, underscored Oscar Isaac multiple times and added exclamation marks.
Mhm.
I really had reaction to this.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Can you
Couldn't tell.
say the specificity of your what the fuck moment, please?
Mine?
Yes.
Oh, let
Because
me read
it is
it.
what,
I
it's what you're
swear.
saying, but there's a specific part of it.
All right, you know what? I'll. This is actually one of the more low key.
I'm not
notes that I
talking
wrote
about
this week.
I'm not talking about the capital sentence. I'm talking about the first
Yeah.
sentence.
Oh yeah. No. So this was one of the more low key things that I felt like I could actually share on the show. So everyone enjoy this. My WTF moment of the week, written from the notes I took while watching the episode. You can quote me on this. Did anyone else hear Yummy by Justin Bieber playing in the background of this episode, or is that just the narrative in my head? And then the part that Marissa doesn't think is as significant, which I think is the crowning jewel, all in capital letters, because Oscar fucking Isaac, y'all, welcome to the hype train. That's specifically a call out to those of us who did not consider ourselves Oscar Isaac girlies in a gender neutral way.
Is
The
that
Oscar
the
Isaac
Unalive
girlies
song?
community.
No.
Is that the
It's
No,
not.
that's not the murder song.
That was written in the car. That was written in the car when we got a little enemies to lovers getting changed gaslighting, which is one of my favorite tropes. I have a lot of thoughts. I think Oscar Isaac, this episode was fantastic in many legitimate capacities, and I think that he was wonderful in choices that he made that I think were directly for some viewers of the show, me included.
Did see a influx of like thirst edits on TikTok this week. Absolutely. I don't agree with them, but that I saw them.
So that was mine. That was my moment of the
Interesting.
week. What are we laughing about? Something that we don't understand?
There are two parts here, okay? One is some people may be aware that I have a certain inability to understand what music is about. So, like, history is made at night. Some of us maybe thought that was about history for a really long time. Or the national pastime, Marilyn Monroe sex song. Some of us thought that was about baseball. When I read your note, I thought you actually meant Yummy was in the show. So I spent the entire time watching it.
Oh, because she wrote it before you. Oh my God.
Thinking that Yummy was going to be Middle Eastern music in the background.
Like a Bridgerton classical version. But it's like sitar.
The second part is that multiple times while watching this, there were scenes that I assume maybe other people thought were thirst traps, and I looked at Sly and said, "Can everyone just wear more sweaters?"
That is Alexis's recurring note every
I
episode.
just want more sweaters in
in
it.
a sweater.
I want less shirtless people.
And I followed it up with like, "Why is there so much touching?" Sorry, Liz. Anyway, yeah.
No, it's, you know what? Let's hard segue from that note to
No,
Conchu is a dramatic bitch and I love him. Do you want to elaborate
be
on that,
honest.
Alexis?
Let's be honest. We're
Okay.
all watching this show for very different reasons.
Yeah.
The
And
way I
Alexis
fell in
and
love
I are
with
watching
Conchu.
it for Conchu.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Do you want to very briefly touch on that, and then Marissa will take us on another hard left in a different direction.
if I was in this show, I would be Conchu. I cannot tell you how much I love that he just shows up randomly and gives really cryptic, dramatic ass advice and leaves. Like the whole
All of his
episode.
lines are so iconic.
Oh, it's so great.
Marissa, would you like to share with the class the tweet that you made on the show account this week?
Oh, so Disney Plus tweeted like the little clip of Mark and Conchu on the roof where they're talking about like what Alexis apparently calls the Avatar barbecue. But they're talking about like what their next step is, like what their idea is. And Mark is like, do you have any good ideas? And Khonshu is like, I have a really bad idea. And I said that is us. Some of us are Mark and some of us are Khonshu. And it's up to viewers to decide who's
I would
who.
like everybody watching to put in the comments right now who of the four of us is a Mark and who is a Khonshu, because we have definitive opinions, but I'd like to hear what y'all think.
I love
so
him.
comment
I
now.
loved him so much.
But I think that works because you love a Khonshu in real life.
And I felt like he had someone that I followed on TikTok that I became friends with at some point may have implied that the super serum just increased the fact that Bucky Barnes was a drama queen. And I feel the same thing about like I feel like Khonshu has Bucky Barnes as a drama queen energy.
I don't think
You're
you're
watching
wrong.
this show very differently.
Marissa, this is the right time to ask you what you're watching the show for, because you've been very clear about this, and I believe it's your WTF moment of the week.
Mhm.
Thank you. Yes, it is. If you're following me on Twitter, you know that I am watching this show exclusively for Chicago references. I will never claim to be from Chicago. I'm not from Chicago. I was not born here, but I have lived in the area for the last 15 years. I've lived inside the city for the last 5. I'm familiar with Chicago. Mark Spector's Chicago accent thrills me every time he opens his mouth. I do want to clarify that I misrepresented our accent last week when I said bag. I said it improperly. He says
Shame.
bag. He says like bag, which is what is more accurate. And I said bag, which is like still Midwestern, but it's a very different type of Midwestern. Anyway, I love his Chicago accent. He wore a Chicago Cubs hat for about 20 seconds total, and it thrilled me. Absolutely. I was like so I missed the rest of the scene because I was like, oh my God, he's wearing a Cubs hat. He's a Cubs fan, because like in Chicago, it's a very big deal if you're a Sox fan or Cubs fan, because we have 2 baseball teams and they're divided regionally. So I'm like, oh, I know so much more about him now that he's a Cubs fan. Oh my God.
I need the record to show that when we got to that moment and Alexis and I was watching, we went, I can't wait to hear what Marissa thinks about this moment.
I was like, this is a very Chicago episode. Like it felt very.
It had its moments. He says damn it at one point in like the most aggressive Chicago accent I've heard in a very long time. And this is how I know that Steven's accent is bad on purpose, because Mark's accent is very good. So Steven's accent is bad on purpose. Thank you, Oscar Isaac.
Yeah, that is something that we raised in a previous episode. I think we're finally getting some answers to some of these big pieces that we've been raising. Like, we didn't understand in episode 1, in our discussion of episode 1, why Steven was being portrayed by Oscar Isaac the way he was, when we know the full range of Oscar Isaac's abilities. And I feel like that was a big point this week that we saw in that beautiful like scene where he did the switch, and it was way different than previous switches we had seen depicted on the show. And we saw Oscar do that from one character to the other switch in a matter of seconds. We learned a lot about Oscar Isaac's physicality this week and some of the bigger stunts that he's been pulling in Mark Spector's portrayal. And I think we saw a little bit more of like his comedic range as well. There was like some funny moments and funny lines that stuck out, not to mention the physicality in that beautiful scene inside of the pyramid where we saw a little bit of like geeky pyramid Steven meet the physicality of Mark Spector and Khonshu. Like, it was, I feel like we got answers to that. Did anyone else feel a little bit more satisfied? Like that conversation we had, we have some answers to.
I'm still waiting to see where it goes. I don't feel like I have any more answers than I did a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. I, in general, I'm still not loving the show. It's like it's growing on me, but I still have some just like major problems. However, I did write about halfway through the episode. Let me get my specific wording. Okay, so the plot is bad, they are good. Meaning the cast. So I'm enjoying May Calamawy and Oscar Isaac's performances. I don't like the show as a show.
Alexis, where do you come in on it?
Well, I'm going to derail because I had a thought and it doesn't match up with how you segued. So I'm just going to
go ahead. No, go ahead. Yeah.
But at the Avatar barbecue, I did think it was interesting that we got this like repeated idea, which I've had I think some people really enjoy. I have an issue with a little bit in the MCU, but this idea that like humanity is special, okay? Like, and I that's not something I was really expecting from this show, and it's something that I feel like the Eternals kind of hit really hard on. I just don't know. I'm like, why is humanity that special? Like, why, like, why are these gods so obsessed with who humans are? I guess I don't feel like we're that special. Maybe I'm the problem. But I did think that was an interesting kind of point that came up at the Avatar barbecue.
I want to answer Liz's segue for Alexis because we do have an answer. But we were talking after about how the pacing is still horrendous. And they've had, like 4 other shows at this point to work out the kinks and create consistent and compelling pacing for their storytelling in a TV show medium, and they still haven't figured it out, and that's my problem. Like the first couple, sure, fine, I'll give it to you, it's your first time working in this medium, but at this point we've had so many limited series TV shows and you still can't get solid pacing down. That's a problem, and I'm not giving you any slack for it. And it also makes me even more upset about the fact that they didn't tell this story non-linearly, because again, it would have been so much better as a non-linear story. And just the pacing has just been the biggest problem for me so far.
I have a couple of big assumptions that I think at least answer it for me. Who knows how accurate these are, but thinking about the shows we've received so far, right? When you think about that big phase 4 event that happened at, was it DisneyCon or I think it was, or Comic-Con, where they showed all, thank you, and they showed kind of this next iteration of Marvel, right? Like all of these projects were planned cohesively, which means all of the shows that we have watched and that we're going to watch this year and that we're going to watch next year were all planned under one umbrella of planning, which has many pros and cons, right? I think when you look at the original to Netflix now moved shows like Punisher and Jessica Jones and obviously Daredevil and these other pieces, even if you look at like Agent Carter and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., that was Marvel figuring out like the TV medium. So it's interesting that they clearly took such a different turn in how they wanted to project manage the development of these shows, more of like a mini series than anything like what they had done before. What doesn't make sense to me, and this picks up on what you were saying, Sly, is how even within that decision to manage these projects so differently and lay them out so differently and lay the plots out in their own individual way that gives them all like tone and autonomy from each other, like certain pieces are missed, like this pacing piece, which varies so harshly between shows, and like the inclusivity and diversity pieces, which vary so heavily between shows. I feel like even if you want to give each project autonomy, you can still do so in a way where you say, okay, like we're going to standardize across the board how we look at things like mental health, how we look at things like inclusive fighting styles, and like making sure characters are depicted in ways that are true to their physicality and true to how they were written in the comics and how they would perform in real life, and like these problems that we've been calling out with every single series that's come out. So it makes me wonder, I'm not cutting them slack here, but I do think about the shows that have yet to start filming or have just recently started filming, like Secret Invasion coming out later this year. We've seen Emilia Clarke's been filming over the past few weeks, and Olivia Colman's been filming and will be filming, I think, over the next few weeks as well. I wonder if this next batch of shows that are currently in production, we might see that they've tried to problem solve some of these tinkering pieces that they've been called out so harshly for. Who knows?
I think it was on Pip last night. Somebody said that, plug for Point in Progress slideshow. Somebody said that it's like they have they give them a starting point and an end point, and then are like, do whatever you want in these 6 episodes as long as you get from here to here. And the difference between the like 6 episode limited series and WandaVision to me is that WandaVision committed to a TV episode arc. Every episode had its own arc. And within these like 6 episode limited series, it's like each episode is a step in the arc. And so like, spoilers, I don't know why you're still here if you haven't seen episode 3, but like the end of this episode is like the top of the arc, and the next 3 are like the fall. And it's like, but also why? Because I feel like we haven't earned this point yet. It's like it feels like we're still climbing.
I will say, we had this exact conversation during the Loki after party. So I think it was episode, whatever the episode of Loki is, when, spoilers if you haven't seen Loki all these months later, where we think they're going to miss the train, or like the world's collapsing in on them, and that's the end of the episode. And it felt like that was as high as the stakes could go. And then by the end, it's like, oh, we're actually talking about a completely different series of problems. And that was kind of like a red herring of a direction. I was brought back to that moment watching this episode where I was thinking, is this like false stakes? And really, we're about to be driven in a whole new plot line that's going to drive Moon Knight forward.
I was also brought back to that episode during our watching, because there was a scene in this episode 3 that had the bi lighting, just like episode 3 of Loki. And I went, wow, that scene is just Loki lighting. Interesting.
I'm trying to think about what the end of episode 3 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Hawkeye is. I don't remember what Hawkeye is. I think the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier is...
Hawkeye is Echo. Episode 3 is all Echo.
Oh, yeah. And then I think the end of episode 3 of
Falcon and the Winter Soldier is they're leaving Madripoor, I think. It's the Power Broker episode?
Yeah, it's the Power Broker episode, but it ends with Carly and the Flag Smashers and the plane, right? I think when they're like
the
leaving.
Episode ends with Bucky going to take the shield from the new Cap himself, Carly going to the next level. I'm reading from Vulture as I speak. Bucky's going to take the shield, Carly's going to the next level, killing people to accomplish her goals and staying ahead of the Power Broker. Bucky breaks off from Zemo and Sam following it's Ao who appears.
Yeah. It's like the first so it's like the first turn, basically. It's not a full arc yet, but it's not like we're at the climax yet, but it is like each episode hits a single beat rather than an episode has a full, like there's a pattern with all of these 6 episode shows. Is like episode 4 is going to have like a real twist, like John Walker and the Shield, or the reveal that Eleanor was working with Kingpin or whatever. And like, episode 5 is going to like build to the final battle. Like, what's going to happen in every episode because it's the same for all of these 6 episode shows. But at the same time, it's not effective. They do it every time, but it doesn't work.
They literally take the 3-act structure and each episode gets half of an act.
Correct.
And nothing about that is compelling.
Correct. And the difference with WandaVision is that every 3 episodes had a 3-act arc. Like, the first 3 episodes of WandaVision are very clear. The second 3 episodes of WandaVision are very clear. And the last 3 episodes of WandaVision are very clear in like what is happening in each of those. And if you watch it 3 at a time or you watch it 9 at a time, it is a complete story while also having a complete arc in every episode. Whereas this is like one complete story with one arc. And it's,
Mhm.
I keep saying the same thing over and over again, but it bothers me so much.
I want to ask a question to Alexis, kind of like in this thing, because I think about the comics and how, like, and I think about us being Taylor Swift fans, right? And oftentimes you miss Easter eggs until you listen to the entire album and consume this entire piece. And then you can go back and piece together some of the threads that have been laced through the entire story. And as I was watching this episode, that was one of my notes, that I feel like I have a question of, should the show have been shipped in one piece? Like, should we have been able to binge watch this the whole way through and then perhaps understand it better? What's your prediction on this?
So I think my issue is that I think some stories are kind of meant to be told in this mini series format where they're all part of like the same movie. And I think some are meant to be told in a way that's more episodic. And I personally felt like Falcon and Winter Soldier worked better as like this multiple parts of the same film, because all of the things that we were after, like all of the stakes, were intertwined together. So really we had like one goal and everything was just a piece of that goal. But with Moon Knight, there are a lot of questions that we don't have answered, and we don't know if they're related or not. And I would argue that Moon Knight would have done better in a more episodic format where I felt like I was getting a piece of a meal each episode. And I think what's interesting, this was a conversation that was happening a lot when Arrow first aired on the CW, right? Like big television superhero show. It was a big deal at the time. They had 23 episode seasons when they started. And a lot of the analysis and commentary and critique at that time was, well, isn't 23 too many? Because you're giving me a story in each episode, and Arrow was known for its Easter eggs, right? Which is why I bring up this show. Like every episode was an Easter egg from the comic, right? And every 6 episode arc, I knew like, okay, this is the comic book arc that they're referencing, right? But there were filler episodes that didn't quite work because they had this 23 episode season. And so we kind of came out of that saying, well, really like a 13 episode season or like a 16 episode season somewhere near Legends of Tomorrow, which is also a CW DC show, works a lot better because you can still make those references and have those comic book adjacent arcs. Not that Legends of Tomorrow does, but that's, and have those Easter eggs without it being too much filler or a really long movie that doesn't quite work. But there was an interesting, I saw a lot of commentary about Layla, particularly in this episode, and her lack of relation to a specific comic book character. I don't know if we want to get into that or if we want to save that later. So I read several articles where people are kind of trying to nail down who she is, because there's not a character in the comics with that name. And a lot of people are conflating her with Marlene, who was a wife for a while, and kind of has that same, like, father took her to archaeological digs, father was killed, that resulted in her ending up with Mark Moon Knight, and then their eventual divorce so that he could protect her. Like, it kind of has the same story, which is also a kind of vaguely similar to a Lara Croft Tomb Raider story. But what kind of bothers me about it is that I feel like if you were going to create a character that was just loosely based on a character in the comics, that you had a lot of room to solve the issues that we saw with that character in the comics. And instead, they are not really solving any of them.
Yeah. Like, that's a theme. Like, let's call that out. Like, this is not new. But it is important, especially when we're discussing like these female characters that are being so mistreated in their introduction, and how that's also a systemic problem of Marvel. So you have like these multiple systemic issues of character development, introduction, and representation all combining and being presented once again through the show. Marissa, you were going to jump in, I think.
Oh, well, it's just, I'm back again to say it didn't pass the Bechdel test when it had every opportunity to this episode. The whole first scene is a conversation between what I at least assume to be 2 female characters, and they spent the entire time talking about Mark and Layla's father. And it was supposed to be our like introduction to who Layla actually is as an individual outside of her relationship to Mark. but it wasn't.
Not to mention that we learned something else about Layla this week, which was in relation to another male character, which is this art dealer person that we met, who we have to say, oh, Alexis, we lost you from the TikTok stream.
Yeah, I'm trying to come back.
It's okay. We will find you. Oh, here we go. Hold on. She's coming back. She's coming back. There she is. Beautiful. So the actor who portrayed the Mogart, who's the antiquities dealer person that we meet, is the actor who died in January, who a few episodes ago we were wondering, who is this guy? How is he going to be introduced? And this episode was dedicated to him. So we finally met that character. I did have questions around, like, if that character was meant to have a different arc and they ended up, like, refrigerating him off in that fight scene because the actor's not around to continue the character. So that's an angle that I question. But even in that development of learning something new from Layla, it was that she, like, maybe literally screwed someone and then screwed them over, like, and doesn't have their trust anymore, which is, like, another weird depiction to put on a woman in Marvel, of, like, that's how you make your acquaintances. Like, it's not through the antiquities business, it's not through like your smarts and, like, conniving ways or your adventures. Adventures, we know nothing about her adventures other than she has them. So that was disappointing.
Yeah, that does tend to be a theme of, like, the quote badass female characters in the MCU, is, like, they can't be badass without being sexy. Like, you can't have Sharon Carter without her macking on Steve. You can't have Natasha without a different Avenger having a crush on her in every movie. Like, you can't have a strong-willed, powerful, independent female character without it being like, but she's also a seductress.
I think one of the things that's interesting about that, and that this is something Neil and I talked about quite a bit, it's like, if you look back to, like, 2010s and previous, like that era of media, there was really this, like, line drawn where sex was bad and purity was good. We even see this in, like, the Power Rangers, right? Like, all of the female villains are, like, in crop tops and all of the female Power Rangers are in, like, onesies down to their feet, right? And so Marvel kind of uses that same antiquated imagery, but they apply it to a bunch of their female characters. And so they say, like, these male characters are almost going to be, like, asexual in their presentation, right? Like, you can thirst over them, but they're really not going to have a sexual identity. We're going to put it on all these female characters, but we're going to operate under the paradigm that, like, sex is bad and purity is good, right? Which means that we're associating characters like Sharon and Lila and Natasha as being bad just because they are having sex, which is
they're dark and mysterious and untrustworthy because they have sex. Yeah. All of that being said, I liked Layla in this episode.
Did anyone catch something that we've been calling out? We called out a long time ago that happened this episode. Something very small with Layla.
She put her hair up.
She put her fucking hair up.
She put her hair up.
And I don't know if anyone else, like, rewinded it and watched it, like, 10 times like I did, but it was such an interesting shot. That
it was a weird point to do it.
She was doing, like, some reflecting with her, like, her face was really acting in that moment and kind of, like, taking in what Mark was saying and not saying to her. So, like, I understood it from that perspective. But again, like, when you think about how the show is edited and how much they're trying to accomplish in such a short amount of time, it's like every second is so intentional and matters. And to me, I walked away from it feeling like, was that a shot that they intentionally chose to appease people that keep calling them out that their women are, like, fighting like this?
Yeah,
it felt a little bit like that for me.
It was like, it wasn't like we are going into battle. It's like, we're going to go have a conversation. And also 5 minutes before, I'm going to put my hair up. It wasn't like, I don't know. It was weird. I was like, put it up before you get on the boat, or, like, after you get off the boat. Why are you doing it in the middle of a different conversation while you're on the boat? I don't know. It was weird. I was like, oh, she's putting her hair up now. Okay. I didn't connect it to like she's putting her hair up because she's like going to have a confrontation. It was just like,
Oh, I knew the second
that's
that
kind
her
of
hair,
weird.
I was like, oh, there's a fight coming. Like Marvel's trying to like actually show us that they understand women don't fight with their hair down.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm glad they've gotten to the point where they understand that it's better to have your hair out of your face, but it was a weird time for it to me.
It was.
I also had a problem with her wardrobe in that scene that Alexis
Let's
also
talk
has
about it.
opinions on.
Yeah.
The necklace.
Oh, yeah.
I'm the one who has strong feelings about the jewelry. I liked the jewelry. You did not. But I thought all of her jewelry was very well designed.
I liked that it was a weapon.
I liked that it became a weapon. It just didn't work with the outfit. I was like, that's so obviously like a weapon. They're like pointing to this is like this is her thing. It's like Loki's horns or something. I'm like, this is, I don't know. It just was like, it was like cool, but also like they could have given her a better shirt to wear with it. I don't know. Anybody else like the collar weapon stabby necklace thing?
I mean, I thought it was a beautiful necklace, but I did point out that it was definitely a Chekhov's gun moment, which I have feelings about Chekhov's gun, but that's for a different time. But as soon as we saw that necklace, we're like, it's gonna turn into a weapon.
I will say I am a fan of like all jewelry being weapons. Like if I could only buy jewelry that was weaponry, like I would be a very happy girl. But I do think it calls into question some inconsistency with her fighting style and her ability to fight. If I would wear a necklace like that, I am also a trained fighter. And so I kind of expected that, I think, more from Lila than what I got. I was like, if this is a thing you have and a thing that you're comfortable using, then I don't think we should have necessarily seen the inconsistencies that we saw from her fighting in the previous episode. And also in this episode alone, there were some really awkward blocks that just don't make a lot of sense if you're comfortable wearing and using a dagger necklace.
Yeah, she didn't do as much as I expected she would, and then she had to be rescued in the end.
That's a good point, yeah.
Something else that happened during the fight sequence that I thought was kind of interesting was the cape grab.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to hear everyone's thoughts on this, because to me it felt like the second we learned that this Moon Knight does have a cape in the suit, we had to see the cape grab, because everyone was going to go on their phones and be like, capes are impractical. Like, I'm going to reference The Incredibles a million times. Like, why is no one grabbing the cape? So when that happened, I was like, great, we've gotten it out of the way. But Alexis, I'm wondering what you thought of the cape grab, like from your perspective of fighting.
Well, I thought there were some interesting things. I find that there are some interesting things with the Moon Knight costume, period. But as far as the cape goes, I think it's interesting on many levels, right? Because there seems to be this thing, it especially happens in the Moon Knight comics, where in later runs they try to like move away from this Batman reference. The only thing I could think about was Batman. Like when he jumps down with the cape and it goes out, I'm like, well, okay, so I guess we're fine with that relation now. I also thought the cape being a full crescent moon was really interesting. Like, I was like, that's an intern of the week moment. Like, that was impeccably done. I love a fight with the cape that has purpose. So like protecting, I thought that was interesting. I am a fan of anyone who knows how to fight with their stuff. Huge Nisa Al Ghul fan. Nisa being famous for fighting and utilizing silk. A lot of feelings about Nisa Al Ghul. But to me, the fight, what took away from all of those things that I would have really liked was that the fight felt very like color the numbers. To me. Like I felt like, okay, we've had this moment with the cape and we've had this moment with the cape and we've had this moment with that. So like I didn't feel any sort of realism in the fight, and that kind of took me out of it. And that's something that Marvel is capable of. If you think about I found the fighting in Shang-Chi to both tell a story and show me really interesting moments and be an engaging fight that I was invested in. So I know they know how to do it, but that's not something that I felt in this episode. And I personally feel like the dude bros are going to come for me, but I don't like the way.
I don't care what it is. I'm ready.
I don't like the way the suit is fitted, and I don't think it's fitted consistently. Like there are many moments where I can tell different stunt people of different sizes are in that suit because it fills certain times it is filled out and certain times it's not. Certain times the shoulders are overextended and certain times they're not. And it, to me, is not consistent to Oscar Isaac's body type. So I would have liked to see a suit that was like less bulky and more fitted, especially in the shoulders. In this episode, the shoulders were quite a bit for me.
There was a few moments during the fight sequence at the beginning of the episode with the three guys, and when he was switching back and forth, that you could really tell who the stunt doubles were and which shots were Oscar Isaac's. And like Oscar's made a point to say in the press that like he did take on like a chunk of the stunts and wanted to do some of the stunts and make them realistic to him and realistic to Steven, and realistic to Mark. So it was just really interesting to see like the moments of Oscar that they kept, and then how badly at times it was cut to these like doubles, which like you said were like completely the wrong proportions to be realistic.
And I just feel that a suit, this was the rant that I didn't give. I feel that a uniform should make you look good, right? Like if superhero has a uniform, I think it should be flattering to that person. And I don't think the Moon Knight, anything about that is flattering to Oscar Isaac. One of my favorite things about 911 has been seeing the evolution of the sleeves on the firefighter uniform tops because each season consistently they get about half an inch tighter, like to the point where like in later seasons they are like biting into people's arms to make them look like they have biceps that they may or may not have. It is phenomenal.
Especially with Oliver Stark, he has bulked up significantly from the first season to now. So his biceps really did grow. So every time you see him, like as the seasons go on, his shirts just naturally get tighter.
I would argue that Bobby hasn't, though. Like, I would argue that Bobby's biceps, like, somehow this sleeve that was loose on him in season 2, I know cuts into his arm later, and there has been very little change to that. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a very strategic way to make those actors look good. And
yeah, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, they need to come over to Moon Knight and help out.
I want to say, speaking of actors looking good, I am ready to make a very bold. Oh my god!
Before we get to this, can I finish our thoughts on the fighting?
Yeah.
Okay, so I 100% with you all. Like the fighting's not great, but my two WTF moments were both from the fight scenes, and that was the gun pull, which we may or may not have watched a couple times. And then the second moment was in the fight scene. We have the moment where it's Mr. Knight and then it's Moon Knight and he's being impaled, right? And there's a beautiful cut from the Moon Knight being impaled to Layla fighting that was just so well done. Like whoever was editing that scene, just chef's kiss. Like I round of applause, so good.
I agree. Yeah,
it was a good.
Let's talk more about this gun pull. I would like to really give it the moment it deserves. And I'm gonna let you set the tone for this, as you already have. Continue.
I don't often experience attraction as well established, and most of the time it's not to people, it's more to their personality or their actions. So I am not an Oscar Isaac girly, but that moment got me.
Can I just say
very
the
clean.
amount of times I've been forced to look at a picture of Oscar Isaac's forearm in the last like 3 days? Nothing, folks. There's nothing there for me. And I'm like, I don't understand at all. I'm sorry. I don't get it. I don't
think
know why. What is it about
I'm gonna
this?
say something cryptic, but the girls who get it, and the girls who don't.
I will also say, as a girl who usually doesn't, that I think part of that moment in particular that's so like, okay, so one of my favorite television authors, John Rogers, if you know, you know, if you don't, you don't, it's fine. He has some very great commentary on what he calls competence porn, which is when characters you watch are very, very good at what they do, and that is appealing to audiences. And so in that moment, to me, it was equally about his forearm as it was about the fact that was one of the first times that we have seen him be very, very competent in what his job is supposed to be.
Yeah, I agree on that point. I didn't like dislike it. I was like, "Ooh, look at you." But I didn't need to see it 6 times in a row on Twitter
Listen,
every day of the week.
I can explain. Marissa is jealous of the attention that Oscar Isaac pulls from our relationship. And you know what? Like, I think that's a valid concern to have. But unfortunately, DUNE starts filming in yet a few short months. And it's only going to get worse for you. So you better buckle up.
As I have said,
or can I come back?
As I have
You
said
can say
several
nothing,
times.
Alexis. You can say nothing.
I've said this several times on several platforms. Sometimes I'm just too gay.
And that's going to go in the cut of season 2.
Yeah.
Someone bookmark this timestamp of this episode so I can come find it later. Listen, the Oscar Isaac girlies, asterisk inclusive girlies, knows what's up. And this was a moment for us. And honestly, that moment made me realize, after my 2 weeks of harping on how the marketing of the show, and Marissa has said this as well, so I can't just say it was me saying this, the marketing of the show has been, we got Oscar Isaac, please watch.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I saw that gun pull and I said, I get the campaign. I understand why that choice has been made.
Mm-hmm.
Effective marketing, because in fact, Oscar Isaac is in this show, and perhaps it is worth watching. Thank you so much. So I to the Moon Knight marketing PR department, I see you. I see what you know. I'm excited to continue to see what you know that we don't, and perhaps I'll be slightly more gracious in my future hot takes about your work.
Can we talk about the Avatar barbecue now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can we talk about how my note for that scene is, I know this scene is supposed to be serious, but OMG, I can't stop laughing at the dramatic shouting.
I agree. Alexis, do you want to explain what the Avatar barbecue is?
Okay. So they're all gathering in the pyramid, right? There's that moment where it's like, you know, the god that I'm an avatar of is patrons with, I don't know what they said, but they say Sly is, you know, involved with the god you're an avatar for, right? Everyone's standing around. One avatar has a really bad pocket swatch. Like, you know, it was a moment. And it just gave me the energy of like, what I wanted the energy to be was like Falcon and Winter Soldier, like at the end, like the finale where like Bucky has the cake, like that barbecue moment. Like it felt to me, it was like barbecue in the pyramids. All the avatars are getting together. There's like
family dinner.
Yeah.
Something about that scene that I thought was like, I completely understand why they did it this way, but I thought it was hilarious was that they did not introduce anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like
it continues the trend of if you know, you know, and if you don't,
well,
you'll
they had the
know.
roll call at the
I
beginning.
know, but
of
like
who was present.
But they did not. We did not learn anything about anyone in that sequence. It was like, okay, here's a couple SAG actresses getting their moment. And we're gonna put them in some, like, you know, what's an American like a Walmart or like Target section clothing for the hell of it. Someone's gonna get a suit. Good for him. and they're gonna sit there and be like,
they're making
and
their
they're gonna get
points,
their
they're
SAG
paying
card.
their rent.
And I hope they got paid.
Okay, so at the end of that scene, they have all the moments of the like leaving, whatever, and most of them did a dramatic head, eyes up, right? The dude in the suit with the bad pocket swatch did not do a head up. He did a full chest pop. And I lost it. It was so ridiculous. He did not look up. His head stood still, and the force leaving his body was like a full-on chest pop, and I just couldn't.
It fits with his attitude, though. I feel like I don't know who that person is. I don't know who he's supposed to be the avatar for, but it was giving very much Barty Crouch Senior in the Wizengamot Goblet of
The
Fire.
whole scene reminded me so much of that scene in the Lego movies where all the Lego movie where all the little Lego minifigures are standing around the council.
Oh, yeah.
And they're all... But I thought that the avatars were particularly judgy of Mark's mental divergence to be people who are avatars of Egyptian gods. The stakes in that scene are oh, we can't tell them, we can't use really bad language, which I had an issue with, to tell them that, Mark may or may not fit some definition of unwell. And they're all oh, what is it? And I'm you are all avatars for Egyptian gods. What do you know about well and unwell?
This is not the right community to be diagnosing one another. This is not the way.
I agree with JJ. JJ says, I'm confused on the direction of this scene. I agree. I don't know what the tone of that was supposed to be. If it was supposed to be fun, if it was supposed to be very serious and dramatic, it did none of it worked.
I would
for
like
me.
to call it this comment from Daniela.
I thought we were done with this.
My best friend, Daniela. This show has made me an Oscar Isaac girly, and chef's kiss, I've done my job. Thank you so much.
I will say that Sly and I cackled our way through that entire scene. So if it was supposed to be serious.
Okay, but this goes back to my point again of I don't understand what the stakes are on this show. I don't understand what I'm supposed to be invested in within this plot, because I think the big drama of this episode was supposed to be Arthur Harrow basically getting away with it, but
the big moment to me was we lost Khonshu. Khonshu's encased. And we no longer have our favorite dramatic bitch.
I was so upset. I was don't take him away.
Can I make a comment about this? Because I personally maybe I missed something. So if I missed something, I'm happy to own it. Okay, I'm happy to be told, no, Liz, you just missed a piece of the episode. But when they were oh, he's gonna get encased, he's gonna when they were setting that all up, I was oh, that sounds that sounds huge. It's so dramatic. What's gonna happen?
Mm-hmm.
And then they turn this fucker into a Barbie mini. That man was this big.
Of the putties from Power Rangers. They're little,
yes.
You stick them in the oven, they become big. That's
I don't.
Khonshu turned into a shrinky dink.
Yes, exactly. And I would like his dramatic bitch ass back on the show, please.
I thought there'd be because they had the stuff all in a circle holding hands and magic. I was oh, this is gonna be and we just saw in What If when they made Doctor Strange into the orb and the universe collapsed, and that was so dramatic. And
you know what
I was what happened to this man? He's the size of a Sharpie.
It had that moment had Wizards of Waverly Place energy.
It did.
Yes.
I hope no Marvel exec ever sees this episode.
No, I hope they do. I'm ready.
This is the episode where they decide to sponsor us. They're you know what? Points are being made.
Send them to the Multiverse of Madness premiere.
Have fun.
Here's a comment from JJ that I think is interesting. All those gods are full interesting characters on their own right, and we barely saw any unique aspects of them. And I don't think we'll see any aspects of them, to be honest. The same way in the Eternal, something that kind of bothered me is they're oh, there's all these celestials. Like there's so many of them, and that's all of the descriptor we got. I was like, you're not gonna give me one example of anyone else. Like you're not gonna. Nope, we're there. Okay, they're just there, and that's it. Great. That's all I'm led to believe from here on out until I need to know. Like, there's no council of them. Like, do they? What chaos are they causing in their own world? Like, no, we're just told they exist, and we're fed it. Like, eat your vegetables, and that's how I felt about this too. I'm like, oh, so the gods are mad.
And
Grand.
having a barbecue.
Eat your vegetables is a very like accurate description. It's like, here are facts, accept them now. It's like,
okay,
don't get any more information.
Speaking of
You
facts,
need to accept it to move on.
Can we talk about? Sorry, I'm taking a hard tangent. Can we talk about the music description in this episode? Because
speak on it.
Please, for the love of all things holy, give me a better description than Middle Eastern music, because that could be literally any genre. Please, for the love of all things holy, like, if you're going to try to describe music, at least do it well. Like, if you want to be like, oh, like, music in Arabic, right? Okay, that's a description. Give me the vibe, because then later it would be like dramatic Middle Eastern music. Dramatic gives me like the tone. It doesn't give me the vibe. Like, is it upbeat? Is like what is the feeling?
Like, imagine if it said sad British music. Am I getting Beatles or am I getting Rita Ora? Like,
very
different
vibes.
vibes.
Yeah.
Yummy by Justin Bieber, the Middle Eastern version.
Listen,
Honestly,
I
one of my favorite things about the captions on Bridgerton is that they tell me what the song is. Like, they tell me what the classical version of the song is, because sometimes I like don't pick up on it, but then the like song description says like "Thank You Next" by Ariana Grande, and I'm like, oh my god, it is "Thank You Next" by Ariana Grande. Say it again. I was talking over you.
No, I was just saying that's what they're supposed to do. That's good captioning process.
There's a comment from Goosey that I want to pull up. I had no clue about the music genre of the end credits until I saw a TikTok on it giving the context of the genre. And I think it was Alexis that wrote this note, but I think maybe this can be the note we end on. We can all jump in on it. There's a problem with your media if you need TikTok to explain it to you. Was that you? Not
that was a Marissa quote.
It's not a problem. It's not a problem to learn more, to uncover Easter eggs, to learn pieces that you might have missed. But it is a problem when you're relying on the fan communities to fully explain concepts that it was the show's responsibility to equip you with.
Yeah, if I need Terrell to explain to me,
shout out Theories by T. Shout out Theories by
T. If I need him to explain to me why Arthur Harrow is the antagonist of the show, you're not accomplishing your goals. Your story is not effective.
That's a great note. I want to end on a very less serious note, and that is Khonshu's my favorite MCU character because of the line, "I summon the gods, you summon the worm," and that's all. I'm gonna mic you up there.
I think my favorite Khonshu moment was all right, well, I thought he would talk after he eats the guy off the cliff. I thought he would talk. That's my energy right there.
My favorite thing about Khonshu is that he clearly has no plan any of the time, and yet was like, listen, Mark Spector, you're going to fulfill all of my plans. Your job is to make all of my plans happen. I don't know what they are. I don't know where they will be. I don't know when they will be. I don't know how you're going to do them. But it's your job to figure it out, or I'm going to refrigerate you immediately. Like that. That's like some Disney villain energy.
Yeah, it's very Hades.
Yes.
Yes.
It's Hades and Meg is what it is.
Yes, it is. That's exactly what it is. And I was also in love with Hades, so that tracks. That's where the
great.
problem started, really. We were also trying to figure out how they made Khonshu. And that's when I decided that the intern of the week was walking around with a giant head like a puppet.
I have so many questions about how they designed Khonshu. Like, do we have like a person in the suit with like a green suit and then the head on top? Is it like puppeteering? I need to know. I want an assembled just about Khonshu's design.
It's true. It's true. And when we get that assembled special, we will all watch it and be disappointed, as we regularly are, with the minimal information they provide us in them. So let's keep watching. Let's keep our hopes at a very reasonable level for where the next act of the show is going to go. As always, when you're watching, come think of the show. If you have questions that you want us to discuss and we debrief the Moon Knight episodes, you can DM us on Instagram. You can also, starting soon, perhaps let us know your thoughts more directly, and maybe we will answer your thoughts directly here on the show. Perhaps more news coming about that in the next few weeks. And if you watched the after parties that Alexis and I did for What If, you know exactly what we're referencing with that. But with that said, let's talk about some of what is under our radar, what we think flew under the radar this week that we want to call out and let people watch over the next week until we all get back together next Saturday and talk about Moon Knight episode 4. I think Alexis has a lot of recommendations for this week. Do you want to go first intentionally, or do you want me to jump in? And
I don't mind to go first.
Okay, you go for it.
I'm going to try to keep it short because I have a lot to say. But this is more like an under the radar, like a theme that I feel like is happening that is under people's radar. And that's this like reporting podcast to documentary to inspired by fictional drama pipeline. And I think that's always existed in media, but it's something that over the last like month I have seen. It's like there is like not a podcast that I have listened to that is not announcing a month later that like they're also going to be a documentary and then they're going to be a series on Hulu. This is something that happened with The Dropout, which I was a big fan of the original reporting, was not a huge fan of the Hulu series. And it's now also a TikTok musical, which tangent on that another time. It happened recently with WeWork. And that cult shenanigans, the fact that Jared Leto did not play the cult leader in that movie is just such a missed opportunity. But they did, that was reporting that turned into a documentary that is now turned into an inspired by project. Happened with Dope Sick, about the opioid crisis, which was actually a very good series on Hulu. Made You Look, so excited. Made You Look is one of my favorite documentaries about an art forgery ring that happened pretty recently within the last couple of years that resulted in the fall of the Knoedler Museum. It involves Sotheby's, which has come up on this show more than once.
Still don't know what it is, just know I'm supposed to care.
It's a great, great documentary on Netflix, like one of my favorite docs of all time. It had a podcast, got another podcast, and then they announced this week that it was also going to be a series. What else? Fear City is one that, Tiger King, happens Tiger King. Fear City was a original reporting that was a book that was a not great docuseries on Netflix about how the FBI got lucky in taking down the Cosa Nostra in New York. And one of the interesting things that came out of the documentary was that the doc tried to kind of slide over the fact that Castellano didn't unalive his maid after he found out that she had been leaking information to the FBI. And the reason that happened is because she did not know that she was leaking information to the FBI. She thought she was having an affair with the FBI agent. That's a whole nother thing. But that recently spilled, and there was an announcement that they were going to turn it into a series, a streaming series. And I'm hoping that that's the plot line that gets included in this series, because I find that to be the most interesting. The Abercrombie doc and the Hillsong doc both came out this week. They've had similar stories, make millions. So anyway, that's that.
Maybe you'll drop some links on your Instagram stories later to some of these so people can go listen and watch.
Yes.
Unfortunate for everyone watching this on TikTok, my phone's on 1% and I cannot plug it in where I'm currently seated. So I think we're going to say goodnight to TikTok. We have about 20 minutes left of our conversation where we're going to recommend some of our favorite shows and what you can watch and listen to over the next week. So if you want to come hang out, you can come to YouTube and Twitch. If you go to the link in my bio, it'll take you right to the stream. And you come hang out with all of us. Everyone here in the comments hanging out with us on YouTube and Twitch. So come do that. Sorry to cut our live short over here. That is my bad. I should have plugged in my phone, but I'm not in my usual setup. And we'll see y'all next week. But please come hang out for 20 more minutes and listen to some of our recommendations. Bye, TikTok. I wanted to say
That's what happens when Liz joins the stream late and Sly doesn't have time to harass her.
I have nowhere to plug my phone in, people. I'm doing my best.
How dare you?
How dare I? I know. With that, I'm going to just take the microphone and let y'all know what I think you should be watching, listening to, which is, once again, go watch Harry Styles at Coachella. I'm not kidding. I think there's some very valid reasons why you should watch. One, he's going to be doing this again next Friday. If you don't know, Coachella's 2 weekends. So yes, next Friday night, I'll be staying up until 4 a.m. once again to watch Harry do the same set list with likely a new special guest. My guess is that it's going to be Lizzo. Lizzo's also she's hosting and the musical guest on SNL tonight, so you can go watch SNL after our show. I'll be live tweeting it and hanging out with all y'all who are watching and tweeting on Twitter. And I think Marissa's going to hang out tonight as well and watch it live.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So my guess is Lizzo will be the guest performer next week, but also the reason why you should go watch the Coachella set is because Harry debuted 2 new songs and did the first live performance of the new single As It Was. The new songs are some of the best songs he's ever put out. They are incredible. So good. I don't want to spoil them for you. One is called Late Night Talking and one is called Boyfriends. I think Boyfriends is one of the most bold songs in pop right now. I'm just going to say that. So you can go watch and then come let me know on Twitter what you think. And also, I'm going to be posting more TV show recommendations on my Instagram story based on all the suggestions that y'all sent in last week for Canadian show tropes that you want to see more of. I have so many recommendations. I just have not had time to post them. So you can come on my Instagram later tonight and tomorrow and catch all the shows and movies from Canada that might not be on your radar that absolutely should be. We're covering everything from queer comedies and romances to more medical dramas to everything that fulfills Alexis's checklist, which I have researched extensively with my Canadian friends. So there's something for everyone, truly. And Sylvan is absolutely calling me out. It's the lack of sleep, Liz. It's okay. I will not be going to bed until Lizzo is done SNL, which means I would have been up for 22 hours straight. I'm doing great. Marissa, what do you recommend?
A lot of shows are getting a season 2, and I want to talk about season 2s. There's a big long list. I think the first that was announced was Abbott Elementary, which just finished. You can watch the whole series on Hulu. I believe Disney Plus internationally. Is that right, Liz?
Mm-hmm.
And then highly recommend Abbott Elementary. It's an ABC show in the US. It's all on Hulu or Disney Plus, like I just said. Then Only Murders in the Building, which we all love here, is getting a season 2. That is coming June 28th. And I do believe we will be having further conversations about that show on this show.
If you're a fan of our show, you want to catch up on Only Murders in the Building because it's about to become our entire personality this summer. So get on the train now so that you're all caught up before we go full tilt into Selena Gomez territory.
That is another Hulu show that is on Disney Plus and internationally. Okay. Hulu's weird because some of it is Disney and some of it's not. And then Hacks got a season 2, which is coming maybe in like 2 or 3 weeks. I think it's May 8th. It's like the first week of May, second week of May. Season 2 is coming of that show. it's like a modern queer, weirder Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. It's about female stand-up comedians. It's on HBO Max in the US. I have no idea where you can watch it internationally. But I'm excited for that. Also, Girls 5 Eva season 2 is coming on May 5th. I'm a big Sarah Bareilles fan, so I'm very excited for that. It's always got, you know, Tina Fey universe SNL type people making appearances on that show. Lots of Broadway people making appearances on that show. That is on Peacock. Again, don't ask me internationally. I just know how I watch things. And then all of those shows get a season 2. So where is season 2 of Our Flag Means Death? It is the #1 show for like 3 weeks in a row. It's higher ratings than Moon Knight. More people are watching Our Flag Means Death. After it finished, the last episode was released like 2 weeks ago, I think, and it at this point is performing better than Moon Knight. So why haven't you announced a season 2 yet, HBO Max? I'd just like to have like a little conversation with you. Do I understand that this man is an extremely successful director and is probably very busy working for Marvel and other such things? Yes. Do I also need him to be the lead on this small queer comedy? Yes. So figure it out, please. I would like a season 2.
Well said. Well
Thank
said.
you.
And perhaps you'll post a list of all of those shows and the dates, like you just said, on your Instagram later, so people can.
Yes, I'll get you the actual dates and where you can watch everything for sure.
You're the best, Marissa. The best. Sly, what are you recommending this week?
So I've been thinking about it because my entire life this week has been Teen Wolf, and I don't recommend that. And I was like, I could recommend reading fics from fandoms you've never been a part of, but I feel like I do that every week. I want to recommend a show I haven't seen yet, but I want you all to watch it with me. So I'm going to recommend it because it's under the radar. It has a main character who's played by a deaf actor. And the show is killing it. It's on Peacock. I know literally nothing about it except for one of the deaf actors I follow on Instagram is in it.
I think I've heard of this. Who is the actor? Do I know this actor?
Stephanie. I don't remember last name.
Maybe not then. I don't know.
Google.
I think that's
Peacock
reason
is
enough
great.
to reference the show.
Peacock has got some great stuff. Peacock and HBO Max has a lot of like small scale comedy that like doesn't get a lot of conversation, but it's just great.
Mm-hmm.
Claw has it. Stephanie Nogueras?
Nogueras, I think.
Love.
Nogueras? I don't know. I'm deaf. Don't ask
I'm
me to
not
pronounce
familiar
it.
with that actor. That's cool.
Very excited. Love.
So maybe I'll check it out. Maybe you'll check it out. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
Obsessed. So everyone is leaving with something to go watch this week. I know that over the next week we'll be talking more on Twitter about 911 and 911 Lone Star, of course. Any like tidbits you want to drop about that over the next week?
Liz will say that we're talking about 911 Lone Star with
when we're actually talking about 911.
Notably, I don't watch trailers or promos or previews for anything. I had an idea about what this week's episodes were about. Like, I knew we were getting the Eddie breakdown. I knew we were getting the TK addiction episode. Like, I knew that. Going into next week, I have zero clue what anything's gonna be about. So I'm excited, but I haven't seen any of the promos. I have no idea what the vibes are for next week, but you will hear about it on this show.
And on Thursdays with JJ on TikTok. If you're not following JJ Baby Watch and Sly on TikTok, they go live every week to unpack what's happening. Anything else we want to say? I am like getting delusional because I've been awake for so long. So maybe I'll go first. Last thing I want to say is something that was supposed to be my rant, and then I talked about Minecraft YouTube, and like I've been all over the place tonight. But some words of wisdom, which we don't usually close the show with. Usually we end with some words of chaos. I did something adventurous this week. Adventurous for me. Which was I got over the hurdle of when you don't want something to be over, so you just put off ever watching it. I don't know if anyone else deals with that. I love Little Women. Love that book. One of my first reading memories in life is reading Little Women. Obsessed. And I never watched the 2019 version when it came out because I was so dreadfully concerned with it being over that I could not handle the fact that I would have to watch it for the first time and then I'd never be able to watch it again. I just never watched it. That's just how I avoided that problem. But have I seen every fan edit and every YouTube compilation and every trending sound on TikTok? Yes, I know that movie inside out. So I finally committed to watching the movie front to back this week. And it was great. And I'm so glad I finally did it. It only took me 3 years to get over that fear. So I challenge everyone, if you have a movie or a show that you have been putting off because you're no, I just don't want that to be over. This is the week to go. This is the week to go watch it. ASMR Liz. Go do it. And then let me know how good you feel when it's over.
I will. Okay, I'm good.
No, you're good.
I will say, not that it's super related, but one of my favorite books is Pride and Prejudice, and the Lizzie Bennet Diaries celebrated 10 years this month, which is so exciting. I'm obsessed with Pride and Prejudice. I played Lizzie Bennet in a stage production. I had actually auditioned for Jane. That's a very long story. Apparently, I'm not sweet and kind. But the Lizzie Bennet Diaries was something that I watched for research, and I fell madly in love with it. It's a wonderful show. You can find it on YouTube. It's set up as 2010s being modern adaptation of Pride and Prejudice. But one of the things that I love about it is how closely paced it is to the book rather than to any of the movie adaptations. So you get that really slow burn. And the pieces that they kind of adapted, things like advertising agencies and sociology classes and the idea of a video vlog really make room for some interesting commentary that they have on the show, but also interesting commentary you can take away from the show. I tweeted about it and got a lot of DMs from people who didn't know it existed and had not seen it. But you can still find it on YouTube if you want to watch hundreds of episodes.
I am an OG Lizzie Bennet Diaries fan. When I found out that there were other people in the real world that I knew that watched it, I was so excited. Produced by TikTok's own Hank Green. Mm-hmm. Please don't refer to him as TikTok's own Hank Green. He's done a lot more than being on TikTok, but produced in part by Hank Green. And it has one of my favorite portrayals of Lydia Bennet that I have ever seen. They give a very human Lydia Bennet that I very much appreciate. And I would just appreciate also if everybody in the chat could drop what Little Women sister they are and what Bennet sister they are, or if they're a Wickham, Darcy, or Bingley, or Laurie. Thank you, because it's an ongoing debate about who I am in all of those situations.
I will say the actress that played Lydia Bennet has a fantastic TikTok.
Really?
Love Mary-Kate Wiles.
She's currently involved in the Fairly Odd Parents
revival
and has posted some interesting stuff about that.
Yes, Mary-Kate Wiles. I love her. So this is the thing. I'm going to try and not take up a bunch of time talking about this. But there's a circle of people on the internet from 10 years ago that were in 6 different circles and then all converged in one Venn diagram. And it's Lizzie Bennet Diaries, Vlogbrothers people, British YouTubers, Star Kid people, Broadway people, they all came together into one circle. And Mary-Kate Wiles is included in that circle. And she's currently Vicky, the babysitter in Fairly Odd Parents. She's grown up Vicky in the Fairly Odd Parents live action revival that they have on Paramount Plus right now. And it's a wild time, honestly. I'm enjoying everything she's posting about it. I'm not watching the show. I don't have Paramount Plus, but she has a wig. She's a wig.
Yeah.
So that's fun. I spent too much time talking about Mary Kate Wiles. Somebody else talk, please.
I think this is where we close the show. So how about everyone plugs? Everyone give a little plug for where people can find you on the internet this week. Sly, would you like to go first?
You can find me yelling about 911 with JJ on TikTok Lives on Thursdays. You can find me yelling about video games and other media on Point in Progress on Fridays. And you can hear me yelling about non-MCU Marvel movies every other week. On MC University, hosted via Point in Progress. And here, you can find me here.
And speaking of finding us here, wherever you're watching, make sure that you are subscribed, that you give us a little thumbs up, do all the things for the platform that you're on, YouTube or Twitch. Helps us out. We're so close to 400 subscribers on YouTube. We're less than 10 away. So don't unsubscribe, because that would be very upsetting. But if you have some friends that you think would be interested in the show, send them our way. The more the merrier, especially as we're about to wrap Moon Knight. If you have friends that are watching Moon Knight, come invite them to the after party. Everyone's invited here, and we'll keep the conversation going as we wrap the show together. Alexis, where can people find you this week?
I'm at Alexis Blake Reads Comics everywhere on the internet, and I talk about comics and cats. That's pretty much it.
And ER from time to
Well,
time.
I pulled a Liz. I stopped watching ER. I got to the point where they were happy, and I quit the show.
That was that. I respect it.
I'm like, I'm not doing 2.5 more seasons of this. I'm out. But I have been pulling some 911 stuff to yell about on Instagram when I'm not feeling imposter syndrome. And I do flirt with my husband on Twitter. Yeah, fascinating conversation. I will throw this out there because I think it's funny. I was talking to someone in my life this week about how I'm incapable of flirting. And even though they had previously told me they didn't watch our show, they said, what do you mean you don't know how to flirt? Have you not watched your own live show? But also on Twitter.
Called out. I love it. Speaking about like people who, call us out about the show. If you're one of our replayers, we see you. We see everyone that comes and watches the show. Tomorrow, when this is posted on YouTube, it'll be available to rewatch later tonight. We see everyone that comes throughout the week and hangs out with us. The comments are open for you. If you want to chat and continue the conversation, we are still kicking around even when we're not live. So feel free to let us know what you thought of this episode and your thoughts on Moon Knight headed forward. Or if you're like watching Coachella like I am, let me know your thoughts on this whole situation. Or if you're Marissa, let Marissa know what your thoughts on our flag means death. Right, Marissa?
Please. Yes.
Yeah. Where can people find you this week?
You can find me at Miss Obobissa everywhere on the internet. You can DM me on Instagram about our flag means death. You can tweet at me on Twitter about our flag means death. You can tag me in edits on TikTok about our flag means death.
I think Marissa has a new stand show, everybody.
Yeah.
I think we've got it.
It's really become a problem.
I love it for you. I'm very supportive.
Just really, I hope I'll be able to move on once we get a season 2 announcement. But I don't know that that's going to be coming very soon. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of our Flag Means Death and Wanda as I am ramping up for Multiverse of Madness. I am planning to rewatch all of WandaVision, and I think I'm going to do like live reacts on TikTok because I obviously needed a reason to watch a show that I've probably seen upwards of 10 times, probably more like 15. So I have to prepare. So if you want to join me for that, at Miss Bobissa everywhere on the internet.
And of course, like I said earlier, you can hang out with us and see our thoughts on SNL tonight with Lizzo as the host and the musical guest coming up in just a few hours. So with that, we will leave you to enjoy your week and make sure to come back next week where we will continue to be chaotic and loud and keep talking about Moon Knight and Harry. Unfortunately, I'm going to be in the exact same state next week when I've been up for 22 hours because of this man. And Marissa will probably still be talking about our flag means death. And Sly will definitely still be talking about 911, 911 Lone Star. And Alexis will still be talking about cats and all the good things. We'll see y'all next week when we do all of that and more.
Yay!
Bye, everyone.